Robinson and cornerback Kobe Minor from the practice squad for this game. Cornerback Christian Gonzalez and defensive end Keon White have already been ruled out. Elsewhere on the NFL slate, Ben Johnson returns to Detroit today as the Bears take on the Lions in the 1 o'clock window. At 4:25, the Super Bowl rematch between the Eagles and Chiefs. Tonight, a rematch of 2 years ago's college football championship game with J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings taking on Michael Penix and the Falcons. 2 Monday night games this week, the Bucs and the Texans and the Chargers and the Raiders. In college football yesterday, some late thrillers in the top 25. Number 6 Georgia goes on the road and takes down number 15 Tennessee 44-41 in overtime. Texas A&M winning on the final play against Notre Dame, the 16th ranked Aggies taking down the 8th ranked Fighting Irish 41-40. In a blowout in the top 25, number 18 South Florida lost to number 5 Miami 49-12. And late last night, Boston College fell to Stanford 30-20. The Red Sox will try to salvage one game in their series with the Yankees this afternoon after a 5-3 loss yesterday. Garrett Crochet will try to stop the bleeding as the Sox come in tied for the second wild card spot. It's a 7-10 first pitch from Fenway tonight. And the Revolution played Toronto FC to a 1-1 draw last night. Luca Langoni with the game-tying goal in the 90th minute. Sports Hub headlines are driven by the Fun to Drive Honda HR-V. Head to your local New England Honda dealers to learn more and see our lineup of Honda vehicles. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9 o'clock.
No matter where you go, you're always connected to Boston sports with the 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Download it wherever you get your apps today. Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports Hub. This is Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle. The show that's all Patriots, all football, all year long. The clutch wins, the tough losses, and the game-changing plays. This is the show that has it all covered. Sunday Kickoff, brought to you in part by Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka. Now, here are Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle.
Good morning. Happy week 2, everybody. It's the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. Alex Barth, Cerrone Battle as the Patriots get ready to head down. They're in Miami. The Patriots are in Miami to take on the Miami Dolphins to wrap up what I have called House of Horrors Week. If you've missed it somehow this week, if you've dodged it, the Patriots lost 5 in a row in Miami, 10 of their last 12. They're 0-7 against Tua. This team, and not like the Patriots have had a ton of success against many teams the last few years, but the Dolphins seemingly, specifically, have had the Patriots number, especially because the Dolphins haven't necessarily been great during this window either. So the Patriots go down there after an 0-1 start. You can't fall to 0-2. We all know the number on that one. We all know the history on that one of teams starting 0-2 and making the playoffs. It's a very, very, very small group. And among the teams that have done that, there's usually some sort of extenuating circumstance. Maybe your quarterback was hurt, or you opened the season internationally, or there were a ton of injuries, whatever. However, right? It's not teams like the Patriots that just came out and were not good. And what I think this game is, and we'll be joined by Cerrone in a moment here, just having a little bit of technical difficulty. This is, I think, a really good measuring stick for this staff. And I'm somebody who's talked a lot about how Mike Vrabel was a culture hire and a guy that would implement this new program. And this is a culture game. The Dolphins, if you've not followed it, are kind of teetering on the brink of imploding. You have Mike McDaniel come out this week. He did not sound confident as quarterback. Tyreek Hill, in addition to his off-the-field stuff, sounding frustrated with his role in the offense. They got a ton of injuries already. We all saw what it looked like last week. Mike McDaniel is minus 400 last I checked yesterday to be the first head coach fired in the NFL. Nobody else is particularly close. Again, this thing is really on the verge of blowing up in their face. It's year 4, year 5, the Mike McDaniel era. It's a lot of the same core. You have to imagine there's some guys in that room probably thinking, oh boy, here we go again. You can't, they're ready to tap out as the Patriots. You cannot give them a reason to not do that. That being said, it's not necessarily an easy game on paper. The Dolphins match up well with the Patriots. They've got an explosive pass rush against a young offensive line that could have 3 rookies in there today, with Morgan Moses questionable. And it's supposed to be Marcus Bryant who would fill in for him if he can't go, which Mike Vrabel said. No determination yet on whether or not Marcus Bryant will play. But it's a Miami team with an explosive front, a lot of speed at wide receiver for a Patriots team that doesn't have a ton of speed on defense and is without Christian Gonzalez. Like the matchup a lot better with Christian Gonzalez, but he's not out there. So it's not the easiest matchup. Like, the Dolphins imploding does not make the X's and O's of this any easier. But again, it's a team that if you can get up early will probably fold. And it doesn't need to be a pretty win. I don't need style points from the Patriots today. I don't need them to go out and, their last win in Miami, I think 48-0, 48-3, something like that was the Antonio Brown game. I don't need that. They just got to get out of there with the win, prove the process, prove the program. And I think it would almost represent just an exhale for the team. I know it's a lot of new players, but it's still the Patriots the last couple of years. There's this kind of thing around them now. That they can't get over the hump. And I think just getting one win on the road in a place you haven't been able to win would be big for this team, would be helpful for this team at this stage. So is it a must win? I don't know how far you want to go with that. It is week 2. Obviously Mike Vrabel's job's not going to be in jeopardy or anything like that. But if you lose to the team that's on the verge of falling apart, there's going to be some questions about where you're at. And I think the Patriots can answer those questions today. Again, it does not have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be pretty. They just got to get the job done. Cerrone, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty good, man. And just jumping on what you just said about it being pretty, they just got to win the game, man. And I think a lot of the conversation over the last week or so, week, is basically the optics of the operation. How Drake May looks, how they're going to run the ball. I mean, will they run the ball? Will they be balanced? All those type of things. But I think instead of looking for perfection here, I think they just need to come out there with a win. And I think at this point, 13-10 would be great. Just win the game, look like a solid operation and try and stack some wins. I think that's the most important thing now, instead of trying to look like the 07 Patriots. No, just try and win games and advance to the next week and grow off what you did well the previous week. And I think that's where you're at now. You just can't go out there. You can look great this week and lose. So I mean, I don't think the optics of it should play a role in this. You're absolutely right, man. They just have to figure out a way to win this game and get that monkey off their back. Get Vrabel's first win in as a head coach. Get McDaniels as a coordinator. Get all these guys. Get Drake May a feeling of winning. Stephon Diggs, all these new pieces, get their mindset switched toward winning some games, winning winnable games. That way, then they're like, "Oh my God, I hope I didn't come to a situation that was worse than I thought it was going to be." You gotta kind of change the mindset. And I think just getting a W today will go a long way.
Right. Again, I said it earlier. I don't know if you heard it when you were logging on there. It would just be an exhale, right?
Yep.
Some weight off the shoulders if they can win today. I think to your point, it gets some of these new guys all right. And even the guys who have played with Vrabel but not here. And I don't think Vrabel necessarily needs overt validation from one win in this locker room. He obviously had success in Tennessee, went to an AFC championship game. But I think it's an opportunity for him to go in the room and say, that's why we do what we do. That's why we put the work in. That's why we do everything we do during the week. And it results in a win. And even if that's performative ultimately, in terms of like what that win would mean, I just think it helps at this point. So to come up short last week, disappointing loss. This is another game. I keep using this word. It's a game the Patriots should win. The line's gone back and forth. I don't think they're favored anymore. I believe they were favored at one point in this game. In Miami, we know how tough that is for them. They are currently 1.5 point underdogs. This Miami team is on the ropes. On the ropes. This is a game. This is kind of a game they should win. As much struggles they've had in Miami. If you're not going to get Miami now, if you're not going to get Tua now, you're just not going to get them. You're like this is the best chance. This is a down and out team. just kind of waiting for that final punch. And I don't think they can get McDaniel fired today because the Dolphins are on a short week, and you usually don't fire a coach for a Thursday game, but this could be the beginning and the end.
Well, if you do to them what they would have with the Colts did to them last week, I think he's gone. I think he's a done deal. If you go out there and get blown out by a division opponent like this, a team that you've had success with, especially at home, and you go out there and get rocked by the Patriots, I think he's in trouble. And look, man, it looks to me like they're not even, I wouldn't say not trying to win, but there wasn't a lot of effort last week on both sides of the ball.
Well, so I don't know if it's effort or they're just insecure in where they are. This was Mike McDaniel kind of asked about Tua's approach to week one this week. Tell me if this is a coach that sounds confident in his team situation and his quarterback.
I think I saw quarterback play that was less than to be desired, which Tua absolutely knows. But that was he's the captain, the franchise quarterback, and everybody kind of fell victim to something similar. I also know that he's very, very much like most quarterbacks, to be honest, where you're putting a lot of work into something, and your first time doing it for a collective 4 quarters in months, you're not at your best. My biggest thing is I don't want to make the same mistakes twice. I don't want to have things happen for no reason or in vain. You make them purposeful by improving upon the things that you failed at, and then making sure that your teammates do the same. So he's comfortable with that. In terms of it, we need to be better collectively. He and everybody else needs to be better for us to get done what we want to get done.
Does that sound like a coach that's confident in his team, or does that sound like a coach that's nervous and maybe trying to choose his words very carefully because he doesn't want people to know how he feels?
That sounded like when your teacher invites your parents to school and you have to answer why you didn't do the homework. That sounds bad, man. Oh my God.
Quarterback play.
Can't lose to that.
No, you can't. They're teetering badly. I think if they win the game, then he still might be in trouble. I mean, it's just.
Well, they play Buffalo at Buffalo on Thursday.
Yeah, this could be a bad week.
Yeah, this could be it. But they're not in a good spot. I don't think they're in a good spot. And that's not to say the Patriots are in the perfect spot either. They're not.
It's true.
But you brought in Mike Vrabel. Part of the reason you hire Mike Vrabel over some of these offensive guys that were out there is to dig yourself out of that spot. And he's a guy that is proven to dig a team out of that spot. Whereas a guy like Ben Johnson, you don't know. He's never been the guy before. Mike Vrabel has been the guy, and he's installed a culture, and that's what you're trying to do. And that's what the Patriots are trying to do going into this game. What will that ultimately look like? I want to do something quick, Cerrone. I think in order to look forward, we got to look back here kind of quickly. So I want to go back to week one because we talked about this last week. Week one's nuts. Week one's chaotic. Week one's crazy. It's unpredictable. Yep. And you come away from week one and, what did we learn and what was crazy, unpredictable week one nonsense? So I have some things that happened in the game last week that I think could loom large today against the Dolphins, one way or the other. And what was real about the 2025 Patriots that we might see in today's game, and what was fake that was just weird week one and we can probably leave behind. We'll do that next, plus your calls, 617-779-0985. Off and running on today's Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. Alex Barth, Cerrone Battle, Ryan Garvin behind the glass.
Sunday Kickoff is on the way on the Sports Hub.
here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff with Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle. I teased it before the break there, and I wrote about it this week, Cerrone, on 98.5thesportshub.com if people want to check this out. Week one's nonsense. We all know it. It's chaotic. It's crazy. We see things that end up just being kind of not relevant to what the season is ultimately going to be. Case in point, last year the Patriots go in and get a tough, gritty, physical win against the Cincinnati Bengals in week one. The team, as we found out, turned out to be none of those things. So from last week, what was real? What was real? What did we learn about the 2025 Patriots? And what was maybe, hey, it's week one, it's odd, it's weird, that's not indicative of who this team will be? And I looked at a couple of key developments from that game that I think were more on the surprising side. And I'll start off with kind of an easier one, but just to get an idea of the exercise. The Patriots being an aggressively pass-heavy team. Mm-hmm. They let Drake May was tied for the league lead in dropbacks last week. Barely ran the ball. Is that real, or is that a weird week one thing to you?
I think it's a week one thing.
Yeah.
I think I don't see him dropping back. We throw 48 times or something like that. I don't see that happening.
46, I think, yeah.
Yeah. I don't see that happening unless they're in situations where they're down. Like, they never were down big enough for him to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, if they find themselves in a hole where, it's a 14-point game or something like that late and he has to drop back and keep throwing it. I don't think they were in that situation to where he had to throw it as much as he did. I don't see him reaching that number again this season, but I can see him getting, 35 plus attempts, 40 attempts, whatever. But 50-something dropbacks, I don't see that happening again. And I don't know if it was a week one thing. I don't know if they panicked too early or whatever it might be, but maybe something they saw in the Raiders defense. I don't know, especially against it with a Crosby-led defensive line. I don't know if they do that again, and I don't know what led them to do that, because I never thought the situation called for it. But I think that's a one-off. I don't see them doing that multiple times this year.
Yeah, I'm with you, especially against a Dolphins team that got run on last week, especially between the tackles, especially the right side, which we'll get to. I think that's fake. I think that's week one. Drake May failing to bounce back, and the offense as a whole. So we used to see this with Mac Jones a lot. This is something I actually thought Drake May was good with this summer. Well, he didn't turn the ball over as much to begin with. But when he did turn the ball over this summer, just made a mistake, made a bad decision, he would bounce back and finish strong, and he wouldn't let it impact the rhythm he was in. That obviously was not the case last week. I actually thought he was good in the first half last week. I think if you get on a regular basis what you got out of him in the first half, you're off and running. That's a legitimate, starting quarterback. That guy's going to keep you in just about every game. He's completing about 70% of his passes at 150 yards, a touchdown. Kept the ball out of harm's way. Had a couple sprays here and there, but overall, it was very solid. He was a well quarterbacked first half. And then he throws the interception. He was just never the same. And the team was never the same.
Yep.
Is that something you worry about with the Patriots' big picture? Or do you think that was maybe week one jitters? And I'm not saying Drake May needs to make a ton of mistakes, obviously. But when he does make mistakes, are you going to be worried now moving forward that, well, all right, this game's over, even if it's still a close game in theory, because it's going to change him?
You know what? I don't think that's going to be a thing that lingers. I think it was one of those first day of school. Everybody wants to impress. They had a good they felt they had a good, decent summer. All the moves that were made, new coaching staff, and he was afraid to disappoint. And I think once he made that mistake, it was like, man, I let everybody down. You could see it on his face. He kept shaking his head, and it was bothering him. But I think as time goes on, they'd be more comfortable together. And, the coaches, hey, just because you make a mistake or you turn the ball over, it doesn't mean you're not playing a good game or you're not perfect. Every quarterback in this league is going to throw picks this year. They're going to fumble the football. He just has to learn how to bounce back from that. And I think he will. But I think it was, again, like we talked about the getting the win. I think it was, man, hope not again. Please, not again. I don't want to turn the fans on me. I think he was kind of feeling the pressure of the moment of that first game of the season, that first day of school. And I'm wondering if he was on the road, would it affected him the same? Like today, let's say he throws a pick in the second quarter. I don't think it lingers as long as it did as playing in front of his home fans and not wanting to disappoint anybody or anything like that. But I think I think as time goes on, he'll get over that. And I think the team will get over that as well. And I think for him to be, we compare him a lot to Josh Allen. I think the thing that makes Josh Allen and Mahomes and Lamar Jackson who they are is they're aggressive no matter what, man. They'll fumble the ball. They'll turn it over. They'll make a bad throw, but they keep doing it. In order for him to become those guys, he has to be aggressive and not worry. If I turn it over, I turn it over. I gotta be confident and comfortable with the fact knowing I am the man here. I'm the quarterback. They're not going to take me out, and be a little more aggressive and not be shy or scared to make throws after that. But I think that day is coming. Hopefully it comes sooner than later. But I think he'll get past those. That, like I said, that first day of school jitters, which was week 1.
Yeah, he has to have a short memory. And I worry less about him as the team as a whole. And we know McDaniels and his offense is very much about ball security, ball control, things like that. You got to let him loose a little bit, even if he makes a mistake. You got it. The good's going to come with letting him loose, and there's going to be some negative moments as well.
Yeah,
you just got to be with it and hope that with your coaching, there's the good outweighs the bad significantly, which is the case with a guy like Josh Allen. It's a good point. Number 3, I'm actually going to go to the phones to help with this one because I think Tim in Nashville was a question along these lines. Tim, what's up this morning?
So let's along the mindset of rebuilding.
Yeah.
So when I watch the game, are they trying to force Diggs and Hollins into a role, or do you feel that they should feature the rookies first and then work Diggs in and get him close to 100%? Because I felt uncomfortable with him basically just trying to fit in. I would rather have them slowly insert him. How do you feel about that, Alex?
Yeah, thanks for the call, Tim. I think the same goes for the rookies, especially when Kyle Williams, you got to remember, he missed the last 2 weeks of camp.
Yeah.
He'd only been on the field a few days before they played that game, coming off whatever that injury was in Minnesota. So I think there's something to be said for easing the rookies in, too. Where I wanted to go with this, the comment line just said wide receiver room as a whole was, and he mentioned, like, Mac Hollins and Stephon Diggs. Those are 2 guys we came out of camp looking at, and obviously Diggs is Diggs, and then Mac Hollins had a strong summer. Kayshon Boutte was the guy for them in week 1. And
yeah,
I say this not, saying is he going to have 100 yards every week. That'd be fantastic. I don't think that that's necessarily going to be the case. But is Kayshon Boutte, like, is this real? That Kayshon Boutte can be the top receiver on this team, or just be a guy that, forces defenses to pay attention to him. I'll be interested to see if Miami pays more attention to him this week, forces the Patriots maybe to go more to Diggs or Mac Hollins or Pop Douglas or whoever, because I think this is real. Because what Boutte did was a continuation of what he did in camp.
Yep.
Get to the sticks, or get past the sticks, separate the top of the route, get open. He did that all camp, and it was as consistent as he's looked since he got drafted, and then he did it in the game.
Yeah, I think it is legit because the first guy that seemed to connect with Drake May when he became a starter last year was Boutte. I think his first touchdown, the big play down the sidelines, the touchdown was to Boutte. I don't know if it was his first touchdown, but one of his first big plays of last season was to Boutte. And I think they kind of had a connection as the season went on. I don't have it here in front of me, but I think he led the team in receiving yards last year, something like that. But I think there is a rhythm there. I think there's a connection and a comfort there, along with the tight ends as well. With when it comes to Boutte, I think, let the call said, easing this guy in and that guy in. They all need to, because they're all new. They're all either rookies or guys that just got here outside of Pop Douglas. But I think the connection with Boutte is real. Now, if he, like you say, anything close to 100 yards every week, you absolutely going to take that. But I think he is a key piece to this offense. I think more key than we anticipated coming into it. But I think it is real, and I think it's legit, and I think he's somebody that the defense in certain situations is going to have to pay attention to, especially on third down in certain distances. But I think it is legit, and I think he's going to have a pretty decent season for this team.
All right, another true-false here. Let's go to the defense. Patriots had one of the highest blitz rates in the NFL last week. They blitzed 16 times. And now they'll have a new defensive coordinator today. Terrell Williams dealing with a medical issue. He's away from the team. Zach Kerr will step in. He's the one who sort of filled in that role in the spring, which is obviously different. You weren't game planning, but he's done that a little bit. He was the inside linebackers coach. He's the inside linebackers coach now. Here is the assistant inside linebackers coach with Terrell Williams, with Mike Vrabel in Tennessee. If I don't think there's going to be much of a change because it's the same system. They're not suddenly going to come out and run the old Belichick defense. They're not suddenly going to come out, and run like the Chicago 46. There might be subtle changes, in moments here or there, but I think the fact that we only have one game of Terrell Williams, I don't know how much we'll notice any changes. And, what do you chalk up to having a new defensive coordinator versus just, hey, this was how the game planned for the Raiders. This was how the game planned for the Dolphins. So there is that angle to it. But big picture, Patriots being one of the top blitzing teams in the league, yes or no?
No, I don't think they will be. I think that game, I wouldn't say it was frustration, but Gino was in such a rhythm and such a groove. And we all know how accurate he could be, even in the rain. He was incredibly accurate. A couple of those throws he had were criminal, but I think they were just trying to get pressure on him and trying to get him off his rhythm a little bit. But I think it's going to be week to week. Like today, the Dolphins have a lot of issues up front in the offensive line. I think they're going to feel they can get to them with 4. I think they can be able they can be disruptive against this Dolphins team without sending all kinds of heat. And I believe they look at this Dolphins team as a team that, if you blitz heavy and they beat man 1-on-1, they got guys that will burn you and score quickly. So I don't see them bringing all kinds of heat and leaving guys on islands this week. But I think it is a week-to-week thing to them. And I think it'll change a little bit more, too, whenever you get Gonzalez back. It obviously changes how you cover guys and how you attack quarterbacks. But I think the blitzes will come down, and I think they're going to figure out a way to get pressure with their front 4 more so than sending extra heat.
I'm actually going to disagree with you on that one. I mean, maybe they don't blitz 16 times every week.
Yep.
I think they're going to be pretty blitz heavy. Now, that game plan makes a lot more sense when you have Christian Gonzalez. Yes. Watching that game last week, I was like, this would be great if they had Gonzalez, and you have these 2 shutdown corners on the outside who can win at the line of scrimmage, and you're trying to force the quarterback into a bad decision. I get it. It makes sense the way this defense is built to blitz a good amount. When everybody's healthy. When everybody's not healthy, though, you do need to adjust, and I think that question is important. One more, and this was a storyline that went under the radar last week, and look, maybe it was the crew. Maybe it was the officiating crew they had. Patriots got called for 9 penalties.
Yeah.
They averaged just over 6 per game last year. Now, the Raiders also got called for 9. And I think it was the 6th highest, 7th highest rate in the league off the top of my head. They were top 10 in the league in penalties called against in week 1. Now, you have, I forget who it was. There's a team last year, I looked it up. They were called for 10 penalties in their first game, and they just happened to get the crew that called the most penalties, and they ended up having a pretty clean season penalty-wise after that. So, could be the crew, could be a lot of things, but penalties, Cerrone, the Patriots being a high penalty team, real or fake?
No, I think it's fake. I think they're going to be pretty disciplined. I think they're going to be very clean. I think that's something, me and you talked about after the preseason. They weren't getting to drawing a ton of flags in the preseason. So I think they're going to be clean. I think they're going to clean things up. I think it was a sloppy game that called for some sloppy play. And I think they'll be better this week. I think they'll be better as the season goes on. I think they're going to be a pretty disciplined team, and they won't get, they won't get hit up like they did last week. They can't get beat up like they did with the flags going forward, because that really sets you back. But I think they're going to be a pretty clean team this season.
I'm going to half answer my own question. I think it's real for the first part of the year. It's still a young team, a lot of new players in a new system, and there's going to be some growing pains with that. I think Vrabel's going to get it under control. That's going to take a few weeks. So early on in the season, I think they might actually be one of the more penalized teams in the league, but the hope is by the end of October they get some of that stuff cleaned up. All right, we got Taylor Kyles joining us next to break down Patriots-Dolphins. It's Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff coming up on the Sports Hub.
We're getting ready for press conference. He's always watching something. So, Taylor, excited to pick your brain on this matchup.
Excited to be here, buddy. Thank you for being nice about it. Evan wanted to make fun of me for it, but man, grind don't stop.
Well, that's what Evan does.
Here.
Evan hates fun. I want to ask you about the matchup because we opened talking about the mental side of things in this game and where Mike McDaniel's at and where Tua's at, and the Dolphins just seem like, in terms of where they're at mentally, on the verge of kind of letting go of the rope. But X's and O's wise, is this game maybe a little bit of a mismatch for the Patriots, and what challenges do the Dolphins present the Patriots in this game?
I'm still worried about the speed they've got a receiver. I understand that Tyreek hasn't had a 30-yard catch in a calendar year, which is insane, by the way. That is one of the wilder stats, I think, in the NFL right now. But at the same time, how many times have we seen one missed tackle and then someone ends up going to the house? So with no Christian Gonzalez, I still like Marcus Jones to be able to match their speed, but I am still worried, honestly, about the Dolphins' ability to throw. And Tua, if they don't get an early lead, his ability to just pick them apart by moving guys with his eyes. But in terms of the Patriots' offense, I would love for this to finally be a coming-out party for Drake May in this offense, because last week, the Colts did pretty much whatever they want. They were able to run the ball between the tackles the way that we'd like the Patriots to be able to do, and they were able to throw at will, whether that was to the flats, whether that was going deep down the sidelines. They were just doing it all. So, obviously, Patriots offense didn't look the way we were hoping last week, but there's just so many vulnerabilities on this Dolphins defense. Defensive edges, I think, have some talent, but I think the Patriots offense should be able to pick them apart, but we'll see.
When it comes to the receivers you mentioned earlier with their speed and they still have the ability to make big plays, and I know you went through all the film from both sides here, were the Dolphins receivers, were they open as much as they complained about last week and Tua just didn't see them and wasn't missing, or were they struggling to get open? Has Tua and Waddle kind of taken a step back when it comes to the speed part of it, or were those guys getting open and still able to make plays last week?
Yeah, I know. Mike McDaniel can still get those boys open with the best of them, and they are still doing what they do. The biggest issue for me last week, and there were some just functional things with the offense I didn't love, more like pre-snap and getting to the line on time, like Tyreek not getting lined up the right way, even though he's been in the same offense for multiple years. There were a lot of brain farts, but guys were getting open. Now, Tua tied for the league last year in the NFL with 4 turnover-worthy plays. That turned into 2 interceptions and 1 strip sack. I think he got sacked a couple other times as well. So it was a rough game for Tua in that offensive line, in my opinion, for the most part. An offensive line that, by the way, will not have its right side, which is Tua's blind side. That should work in the Patriots' favor. But, if Tua locks in this game, I could see things going differently. But if you're a Pats fan, you're hoping that it's more of the same, because it felt like he was dropped in an offense he'd never been in before, despite, being probably the model of a system quarterback.
Do you expect the Patriots to be as blitz-heavy in this game? And Mike Vrabel talked about the need to get to Tua, move him off his spot, knock passes down at the line. You mentioned this offensive line being banged up. Harold Landry, Milton Williams coming off a strong game. How much help do you think they send those to?
I hope they dial back the blitz, and that's as someone who thinks that the blitz actually worked very well for them last week. I thought when they blitzed out of cover 1, which is just single high man coverage, they were great for the most part. But then when you started getting into the cover 0, which is an all-out blitz, they got burned twice. And then there were a couple of zone blitzes I didn't particularly love either. So, and I also understand why they did it last week with Geno Smith. That's a guy who doesn't get rattled very easily. So you want to make sure that not only is the pocket condensing, you actually have a free rusher who can take him down so that he doesn't make a play. With Tua, I think, one, he gets the ball out so fast. I don't know if blitzing is very smart. But also, he's the kind of guy who can get panicky if you've got pressure at his feet. So rush 4, that's what Milton Williams, you gave him all that money for. Harold Landry had a really good game last week and should again. Let your 4-man rush eat, and just let Tua kind of make his own mistakes. But I don't think you need to blitz as much, and I'm hoping that they don't.
Do you think the Dolphins' lack of ground game sets them up for failure against this Patriots team? I think coming into the Raiders game, not so much you were worried about Genty's kind of the unknown with Genty, and then Brock Bauer was behind him, so the whole middle of the field thing was a major concern. Do you think this week with the Dolphins being such a one-dimensional team, I would say, do you think it allows the Patriots team to do a little bit more and have less concerns about the Dolphins being a balanced, dominant team?
Oh, absolutely, because when you play the Dolphins, you want to play as much man coverage as possible. Tua's bread and butter is, I'm going to look this way, but I'm going to throw somewhere that I'm not looking. And that's a tough thing to defend when you're in zone defense because, okay, do I follow his eyes and try to make a play or try to crowd the window? Do I stay put knowing he might be trying to distract me? Like, that's where Tua's had most of his success. So if they can play man coverage and everyone's backs to him, that takes away a big part of Tua's superpower, that anticipation, that manipulation. So if there's no threat of run and you don't need zone defenders to keep their eyes in the backfield and make sure they know exactly what's going on, it's going to be tougher for Tua. It's going to be tougher for those motions to have as much of an impact because, again, you've got one guy responsible for one guy. So hopefully, yes, once again, if the Patriots get themselves kind of a flip of last week's scenario, a nice little lead where it forces the Dolphins to play catch up and really put some pressure on, that would absolutely be in their favor.
On the other side of the ball, you mentioned before the Colts had some success running on the Dolphins. Where particularly do you think they're vulnerable in the ground game?
So they've got a rookie in Kenneth Grant, who I know you and Alex, you and I really liked in the pre-draft process, but he is a rookie. Like, there were some times where they would kind of just let him run upfield and they would wham him the way that we know Josh McDaniels loves doing with tight ends and sometimes do it with fullbacks or what have you, and just kind of catch him off guard. So really where most of the vulnerabilities were for Miami was right in that interior. The Colts have an inside zone scheme. They mixed in some gap concepts, which is downhill, but they bring in some pullers to kind of manipulate the second level and get some extra guys at the point of attack. The Dolphins could not stop it. They had their plays later in the game once things were out of hand and they were just selling out to stop the run. But again, the Colts were able to have a lot of success. Now, this is a front that's aggressive, kind of like the Raiders, where they're going to blitz and they're going to twist, and they're not going to be in the gap after the snap that they were before the snap. So for the Patriots, it's going to be about communication and making sure they're not letting those linebackers get down in behind the line of scrimmage untouched. Those were big problems last week.
And for me, kind of touching on that, what you mentioned, kind of under the radar conversation all week, the Patriots left side of their line with those rookies there. Do you think this is a game that they could struggle, that they can have a kind of a setback, or do you expect Will Campbell and Wilson to have a decent game on that left side?
I mean, it's certainly possible because you've got Zach Sealer, who's one of the more underrated defensive tackles in the league, especially as a pass rusher. I could see him giving Jared Wilson some trouble. I thought Wilson, honestly, for the most part against old friend Adam Butler, was very good. And then once it got to the late third quarter, the tide started to shift. But and then also, obviously, the edge is where the Dolphins are strongest. You got Bradley Chubb, you got Chop Robinson, like a lot of depth on the edges there, and then Jalen Phillips as well. So there's going to be some pretty significant tests for Will Campbell, even more so, I think, than last week, where he mostly went up against Malcolm Kuntz with a couple cameos from Max Crosby, rather. But those two guys, I will say, did impress me. They were good for most of the game, had some lapses that you'd expect from those young guys, but it's going to be another trial by fire.
He is Taylor Kiles. He covers Patriots for CLNS Media. You can find him on social media at tkiles39. Taylor, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me, fellas. Take care.
I do want to we'll get back to Patriots-Dolphins in a little bit. I got to make sure I dropped that. There we go. We'll get back to Patriots-Dolphins in a little bit. I do want to get to a trade the Patriots made yesterday, and we'll do our weekly college football check-in around the league as well, coming up 9 o'clock, and more Patriots-Dolphins breakdown on the way. It's Alex Barth and Cerrone Battle on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports Hub.
Brissett just saved his job with that throw, with that drive. Hit Douglas to get him down there, and then the touch on this ball, when they go empty, with the guy in his face as he gets hit, lofts it over the underneath coverage to get it to Polk on the back end line under the goalpost. Pat's got the lead.
With that play to draw further review. Adrian Hill started toward the surface tablet. Here's the referee.
After review, it is an incomplete pass. The second foot landed in the white.
So the apparent touchdown is wiped off the board. He came down clearly with 1 foot in. The left foot.
3. It will be third down.
Well in bounds. The left toe, the right toes came in. The right toes came in.
Did, but this is that new rule.
Yeah.
Remember? Even if you get the toe.
Boy, does that feel like a long time ago. A lot of what you heard in there. That was the heel toe play last year with Jalen Polk, and he was just never the same after that. Not that he got off to this blazing start, but it all went downhill from there. You know, the number that people remember with Jalen Polk is that, and again, Jalen Polk, second round pick by the Patriots last year, caught 12 passes for 87 yards as a rookie in 15 games. And obviously that's not great. I know people remember that number, 12 catches in a season. What people forget about that number, and not that this is amazing for 6 games, but he caught 10 passes for 78 yards over the first 6. So for essentially the final 2.5 months of the season, he caught 2 passes for 9 yards.
Yep.
Like, it was never going to work out. The Patriots traded him yesterday, late pick swap deal. He was on IR, so he wasn't going to play this year anyway, and he won't play for the Saints this year. Wasn't surprising. Didn't look in camp like he necessarily had a role. He was hurt a couple of times. Your reaction to the Patriots trading Jalen Polk?
I mean, I'm not shocked by it. You knew the writing was on the wall for him. We're shocked he made the team in the first place, but the whole, going on IR, season being over with, they moving on, bringing in other receivers, younger guys coming in with Kyle Williams, Efton Chisholm, and Stephon Diggs, and they just brought in a whole new group of receivers, and they moved on from it. And it's unfortunate for him. I had high hopes for him. I watched a lot of college football, and he lit it up. He was a good player in college. He was Michael Penix, one of his go-to guys. Penix had a couple guys, but he was a good player and played good against good opponents, and had high hopes for him. But I thought early on there was a lot of the first few games of the season and him getting open, not getting the ball, frustration. I think confidence kind of went out the window with him real quickly. We talked about Drake May earlier about him turnovers and getting over it. I felt Jalen Polk had a lot of situations where his confidence just plummeted. And it wasn't about him getting open or anything like that, but his ability, I thought it was so mental with him, and he wasn't able to get over it. Maybe a change of scenery, a new situation. New Orleans is rebuilding right now. They're going to have a new quarterback probably next year, and he's going to have an opportunity to fight for a job there. They're going to have a lot of openings in New Orleans, but, I hope he bounces back and becomes the player a lot of people thought he could be coming out of Washington.
Real quick, because I saw some people saying yesterday, is this the worst draft for a Boston sports team in recent history, and putting it up with the Bruins in 2015 and things like that. And look, I'm not going to sit here and defend the 2024 Patriots draft. It was not great. Just 2 players left on the active roster, Drake May and Caden Wallace. Layden Robinson, who didn't look like was going to make the team, and Marcellus Dial are on IR as well. I still think the 22 draft was worse.
Yes.
I think you could throw 2019 in there too if you want. I actually think that's probably the best of the 3, although it's admittedly not great. That was the N'Keal Harry, Juwan Williams year. So the top of that draft obviously didn't help out, but Damian Harris was a decent player. Yelder Froholt's actually still kicking around the NFL. Not here, but he's had a good career. Jake Bailey in that draft. 22, Cole Strange, Tyquan Thornton, Marcus Jones, Jack Jones, Pierre Strong, Bailey Zappi, Kevin Harris, Sam Roberts, Jason Hines, Andrew Stupid.
Really? Just went. Oh, my UT Chattanooga to the first round.
Marcus Jones, obviously a solid player. After that, though, I mean, that one's pretty ugly. And at least in this draft, and people say, well, we don't know yet Drake May is going to work out or not. you had to take a quarterback. You had to take a quarterback. They needed that position. I understand why they took Drake May. The Cole Strange pick is still indefensible to me.
Yeah, 22 to me is worse.
Yeah.
Out of most of the recent drafts, it's worse because you really got nothing out of that. Even 21, Mac Jones. Yeah, we say what you want to say about him. He made the Pro Bowl. They made the playoffs. Mondre out of that draft. Christian Barmore. 22, you went over that one. 23, Gonzalez, White, Pop, Booty. May, look, if May comes out of this and he becomes a Pro Bowl level quarterback, you can't put that on the list.
Right. If May's a starting quarterback, that draft is fine. I think I said this the day after the draft. When they took Drake May, they had a good draft. The rest of the draft would determine whether or not they had a great draft. They clearly did not have a great draft.
Yeah.
But if May ends up being their starting quarterback for 10 years, you got the guy. That's the baseline. Like it's a baseline good draft.
And here's the thing that people keep saying. I know we've talked about this before because we've been in agreement. A lot of people this week have been like, well, the Drake May, it was the easy, obvious choice. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. We were taking calls up until the Sunday before the draft. People saying Marvin Harrison, trade out of the pick, take this quarterback, don't get this guy, don't get that guy. It wasn't this guaranteed lock that Drake May was the guy the Patriots were going to take, or if they were going to take a quarterback at all. We didn't know what they were going to do up until the final minute. And a lot of callers were saying several different things to do in that draft. So it wasn't as open. It wasn't as clear about taking Drake May as people are making it out to be now.
Real quick, while we're on the topic of the draft and college football, our weekly check-in, our weekly college football check-in, I have some takes, but I want to hear from you. UNC routes Richmond yesterday. Now, it's an FCS team. That's supposed to happen. Ramps back up again, though. They got UCF, and then we'll get to Clemson in a second. But just, do you feel like things have maybe steadied for Bill Belichick at UNC after that tough opening loss?
Yeah, I think the heat is off. They no one's talking about them, so I think that's a good thing. I think Duke losing to Tulane yesterday kind of stole the headlines, locally. And NC State looking like a decent team in the ACC is a big story, too. I mean, they got some players. I love that tight end. Jolie is nice, man. I would love to get that dude in the Patriots uniform. But I think they're kind of being under the radar, not getting talked about. I think that's a good thing. And they have another week of that. Well, not saying it's going to be easy with UCF, but Clemson is the one that everybody's going to be watching. But again, we talked about this before the season started. Win the games you know you can win, you're supposed to win. They weren't supposed to beat TCU. They were underdogs.
Right.
They just look bad. But win the games you're supposed to win, and then we'll see how it plays out after that. So if they get right and get to this, what looks like a preseason section of their schedule, and get right for Clemson, who doesn't look right about now, so I think they might be in good shape.
That's what I wanted to say. Everybody told me, because I was all excited to watch Bill put Dabo Swinney in his place. It's not going to be a big game. There's no way UNC is going to be ready. That's not going to be two great teams. Well, it's certainly not, UNC, okay, they've beat a couple of cupcakes. We'll see what they do against UCF this week. Dabo's not holding up his end of the bargain either, folks.
No, he's not.
That he might be cooked. That was a rough effort from Clemson yesterday. Cade Klubnik, not it. Great slate, though. Great day at college football yesterday.
Who is the best? Who's your top three?
Man, I don't know. It feels so wide open, which I love.
I love it too.
I mean, Penn State's been dominant, but they haven't played anybody. Oregon might be good. I mean, I think Dan Lanning's the best coach in the country, so I might default to Oregon. They're a young team, but I think they're the real deal. Gritty win by Georgia, but can they keep winning without that defense?
They should have lost that game.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, they should have lost.
Notre Dame's interesting. And you can't rule out Ohio. Ohio State still has, the best player in the country, arguably the two best players in the country.
Yeah.
In Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith. So it's all wide open. We'll get more into that as we go. I hope. We're not doing real legitimate draft talk.
No.
Until the end of the season this year. But the Patriots got to take care of business today. We'll get back to that. Plus, go around the league. 90 seconds, no commercials, just the headlines here. We're right back on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
From the Tufter Tire Studios, WBZ HD1. It's not just the games. It's Toucher and Hardy, Zolak and Bertrand, Felger and Maz, Joe Murray. For Boston sports fans, it's 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Patriots head on the road for the first time this season, visiting the Miami Dolphins as both teams look for their first win of the year. Our coverage starts at 10 o'clock with Patriots pregame, leading up to kickoff at 1. The Patriots have announced their practice squad elevations for this one. It's linebacker Mark Robinson and cornerback Kobe Minor. Christian Gonzalez and Keon White have already been ruled out. Elsewhere on the NFL slate today in the 1 o'clock window, Ben Johnson returns to Detroit as the Bears visit the Lions at 4:25. Rivalry matchup, Super Bowl rematch. The Eagles and the Chiefs go at it. And tonight, it's a rematch of last year's, 2 years ago's, college football national championship game at the quarterback position as J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings host Michael Penix and the Falcons. In college football yesterday, in overtime, Georgia comes back to beat Tennessee 44-41. Notre Dame loses late to Texas A&M 41-40. Miami all over South Florida 49-12. And late last night, Boston College lost to Stanford 30-20. The Red Sox will try to salvage one game in their series with the Yankees this afternoon after they lost 5-3 yesterday. It's Garrett Crochet on the mound for a 7-10 first pitch. The Red Sox enter the day tied for the second wild card spot. And the New England Revolution played Toronto FC to a 1-1 draw last night. Luca Langoni tied the game in the 90th minute. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Veterinary Urgent Care Center with 8 locations in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. VUCC offers compassionate, convenient, and high-quality care 7 days a week. Walk in or book an appointment at veturgentcare.com. Veterinary Urgent Care Center, urgent care for your pet's urgent needs. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub, your next update during Patriots pregame.
Are you actually coaching the game, or it's just that is? I feel so strongly about that. I can't even tell you.
Boston Talk Sports here.
What do we got? What do we got?
Sports.
Pick a target.
You pick it.
Take your pick.
Pick me.
I did not pick. There was no pick.
Pick him up. You pick him up.
Pick.
I pick.
Pick me.
We'll start with the one game we've already seen on Thursday night, the Packers and the Commanders.
Hello, Wisconsin!
Nice. Good pull, Ryan. It was indeed hello, Wisconsin. Packers win 27-18. I think the Packers might be the real deal. Because Jordan Love traditionally only gets better as the year goes on. Toyotathon Jordan Love, as they call him. I think the Packers might be the real deal.
They are good. The Packers are a very good team, but as good as they were, that was a 7-point, 6-point game, whatever, in the fourth quarter. And Washington just kept shooting themselves in the foot. So I think the Packers are a very good team. But I think Washington kind of played into that a lot. And I think a lot of people looking at Jaden Daniels and wondering, okay, when are we going to get last year's version of Jaden Daniels? So I think it was a little bit of both of them, but the Packers are a pretty good team.
And I'll just throw on there, Dietrich Wise, longtime Patriot, suffered a serious injury in that game. Hope he's doing okay. Great guy to cover. Great presence in the Patriots locker room and a good player for the Patriots as well. All right, let's get to today. Start with the 0-1 Browns and the 0-1 Ravens.
And then bang, bang, back-to-back drives with turnovers. And I'm just like, oh, my gosh, like, this is really an NFL's filmed moment.
Starting off with our biggest spread of the week. Usually don't see double-digit spreads in the NFL, but the Ravens 11.5-point favorites against their former quarterback, Joe Flacco.
Yeah, give me the Ravens. I think they cover that too. I think they were good last week. It's just Josh Allen had one of those Josh Allen games and saved the day. But I think the Ravens beat these guys by almost 20 today, man. I think they run it up and kind of send a message.
I think they got a lot of frustration to take out. I don't think this game is close enough for Harbaugh to botch the clock at the end like he did last week. Give me the Ravens. How about the 1-0 Jags against the 1-0 Cincinnati Bengals?
This game got moved to 1 p.m.
Yeah, did you know that?
I'm under a rock, bro. I'm not going to lie. I did not know that.
Highest total of the week, 49 points, and it's the Bengals that are 3.5-point favorites.
The Bengals didn't look right again last week to open the season. Another year, another just slow start for the Bengals. Until they figure out a way to look good in September, I'm not picking them to win this game. Give me the Jags in a close one.
Jags to win. Wow, I'm going to take the Bengals. I think you're right. They didn't look good last week, but they won. They avoided the dreaded Week 1 loss, and I think that's probably a good feeling in that building. And I think the Jaguars punched a little above their weight class last week. I think they come back down to earth a little bit. In Cincinnati, I'll take the Bengals to win and cover 3.5. In the NFC East, the 0-1 Giants and the 0-1 Cowboys.
Cover 1, what do we want you to do? Probably.
Don't touch them.
All right, I like that answer.
It will not be Jaden Daniels at quarterback for the Giants. It will be Russell Wilson once again as Jackson Dart waits, and the Giants 5.5-point underdogs going into Jerry's world.
I thought the Cowboys played a good game against the Eagles. They looked better than I thought they would look in that game. I thought they were surprisingly balanced. I thought they were a good team against a good opponent. But that being said, I think they beat up on the Giants today. The Giants, I'm not sure what they're doing or what direction they're going in right now, but give me the Cowboys. I think they're just way more stable than the Giants right now.
I think the Giants cover this. I think the Giants cover this. You're right. The Cowboys look more stable than I thought, but Russell Wilson, veteran quarterback. Maybe the Giants, even though it was a loss, the Cowboys feel a little bit good after where they came last week. Give me the Cowboys to win a close one. I think the Giants cover 5.5. Ben Johnson's return to Detroit, Bears and Lions.
I'm tired, Grandpa. That's too damn bad.
Both teams are 0-1. Lions 6.5-point favorites.
You mean the Lions to win, but in a close one. I don't think they win by 6.5. Give me a close one here. I got the Lions winning, but I think the Bears give them a fight until the end.
I'm going to go with the Lions. There was too much I was concerned about with the Bears last week that I saw that I'm a little worried about that situation. I'm a little worried about Caleb Williams. I think the Lions had a week to fix what went wrong. Give me Detroit. Patriots-Dolphins, we'll get back to in a minute. I will let you know the Patriots are 1.5-point underdogs in that game. Let's go to the Bayou where the 0-1 Saints host the 1-0 49ers.
I think Brock's playing at the exact same level. I think there's different circumstances around him. Our team hasn't been quite as good.
And Brock Purdy now out. It will be Mac Jones. two weeks into the season, Mac Jones is back. I don't know whether or not Kendrick Bourne's going to be active. He signed with the Niners. It could be the 0-1 Patriots taking on a bad Saints team. Niners with Mac Jones, 3.5-point favorites. Shame on me for saying this. Give me Mac Jones. I just think that Saints team is so bad.
That Saints team is bad. It's bad, and I think this is why you throw Mac Jones out there, because it's like, all right, we get to the FCS part of our schedule here. I think the Niners are going to blow them out. Mac Jones, I think, can throw 2 interceptions and they can still win this game. I just think the Saints aren't trying to win a single game the rest of the season. So give me the Niners in a big way. McCaffrey lights them up badly.
I'm with you on that. Another AFC East matchup, the 1-0 Bills at the 0-1 Jets.
I don't know exactly what the word I'm looking for.
Urgency?
No, that wouldn't be the word. Urgency is the word I'm looking for.
The Jets, 6.5-point underdogs at home.
Give me the Bills in this one. The Jets, I think they had a good game last week. They was able to run the ball. Good for Breece Hall's on my fantasy team. But I appreciate that. But give me the Bills. I think they're a better team in that quarterback situation. It's a mismatch. Justin Fields throwing the ball is not really working for this team.
Bill should win that one by more than a touchdown. I'm with you. The 1-0 Steelers host the 0-1 Seahawks.
When you try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree, that's the result you're going to get.
DK Metcalf not returning to Seattle. This game's in Pittsburgh, but against his former team. Aaron Rodgers after an impressive first game. Now, this is the lowest total of the week, 40 points. The Steelers are 3.5-point favorites.
Give me the Steelers, and I think they run it up a little bit on these guys. I think the Steelers find a way to score. I think that's what they did defensively. I don't know what's going on with them, but I think a lot of points are going to go up in this one. But give me the Steelers, and I think they're going to go over that 40 too.
I'll take the Steelers in this one as well. I don't know about over that 40. I think this could be a little bit of a grind, but I think DK Metcalf makes a big play and the Steelers win. Close game, but I think the Steelers cover 3.5. Final game in the 1 o'clock window, the 1-0 Rams at the 0-1 Titans.
Will Levis, quarterback at the University of Kentucky, and I have been known to put mayonnaise in my coffee sometimes.
Obviously, no Will Levis today for the Titans. It's Cam Ward trying to get his first NFL win. Titans at home, 5.5-point underdogs.
Yeah, give me the Rams. The Titans, they had some sloppy play out there last week and ups and downs from Cam Ward, mostly down, but fault all the way around with that team. But give me the Rams. They're just, again, stable, better coach team, better prepared veteran team. Give me the Rams in this one.
So I picked against the Rams last week. I mentioned Matthew Stafford's back. Although they didn't win, I thought Stafford was okay in that game. I think he just needs to be okay to beat the Titans. Some other opponents down the road, maybe that changes, but I'll take the Rams to win and cover 5.5. On to the 4 o'clock window, 0-1 Panthers at 1-0 Cardinals.
I'm just here with a weather report. It's a little bit cloudy out here, a little bit of rain. It's been raining all morning, but we're really excited to practice in that weather here, man. Good weather, it ain't too hot.
Not going to be raining for Xavier Legette today. They have the retractable roof. I don't know if it's open or closed in Arizona. Cardinals 7.5-point favorites over the Panthers at home.
7.5 is high, but I think the Cardinals will win this game. But I think it's going to be a lot closer than people are predicting here. I think the Panthers receivers are better than people realize. I think the Panthers are a better team. I don't know what happened last week, but I think the Panthers will keep this one close.
I'll take the Panthers to cover. Again, I don't know if they win. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I think they cover. Is this the worst game of the week? I got to ask that on Toucher and Hardy this week. I think it is.
It is, but it's one of those games where you want to see you want to see Marvin Harrison. You want to see Bryce
Young.
You want to see the skill players in this game, but it might be.
Let's go to the Broncos and Colts Peyton Manning Bowl.
In the upper quartile of winners, we're in the top quartile of that upper quartile.
Both teams 1-0. Denver 1.5-point favorites.
And Denver, they won that game, but they didn't look too hot, man. But the Colts, I want to see if it's real with them, or was it a fluke last week? But I'm gonna give me Denver the better team right now. But I'm paying attention to Denver and seeing if they're like Washington and Jaden Daniels, if they're kind of taking a step back to reality after last year.
I'll take the Colts. I think what we saw last week from Denver might be who they really are. Now, I don't think what we saw from the Colts last week is who they are.
Yeah.
But if they're a team that's going to beat up on bad teams, this may be one we look back at and be like, the Broncos weren't as good as we thought they were. Yeah. Going into the season, that one made sense. Super Bowl rematch, Eagles-Chiefs.
McAfee just sent me a cheeseburger from McDonald's. I thought that was unique. Can't wait to enjoy it.
Birds 1.5-point favorites on the road.
1.5? That's it?
That's it.
Give me Philly. I think Philly beats up on these guys. It's bad matchup, man. It's just a bad matchup for this Chiefs team right now with them being banged up on the outside. I thought they should have got blown out last week, but the Chargers were being the Chargers, but ended up winning the game. But give me Philly in this one. I think Philly's going to really beat down on Kansas City this week.
This is the exact kind of game the Eagles should win, but going into Kansas City, Chiefs are coming off a bad loss in the opener. They've had some extra time to prepare. I guess the Eagles have too. I don't know. This is that game the Chiefs win that they shouldn't. That something weird is going to happen late, and there's some weird penalty or some fluke play or something, and the Chiefs, there's going to be a bounce of the ball. And also the Super Bowl rematches generally, I feel like, go to the team that loses, the one that matters.
Yeah.
So the Eagles should win this game. Everything X's and O's tells me the Eagles should win this game, but I think there's some weird thing. We're going to get that weird Chiefs juju whatever in this game. Give me the Chiefs in this one. I don't like it. I don't feel good about saying it. I'm sorry, Matt Stenberg. But I think that the Chiefs win this game tonight. I'm really looking forward to this. I saw somebody say on Twitter this week that this was like such a bad primetime game for week 2. You're not a football fan if you don't like this game. Falcons, Vikings.
You like that? You like that?
I do. I really do like it. J.J. McCarthy versus Michael Penix. You have a Vikings team that's kind of established itself against a Falcons team that lost last week because of a bad kicker, but I think is up and coming in the NFC. It will be former Patriots kicker Parker Romo in for Younghoe Koo this week. The Vikings, though, at home, 3.5-point favorites.
Man, give me Atlanta. I think people are sleeping on this team. I thought Penix played really good last week, and I think he's a good player. I think they have a good offense. They have some stars over there, too. They're I don't know why they're under the radar, but I think Atlanta's coming, man. They're coming faster than people realize. And we're going to see if J.J. McCarthy makes the mistakes he made last week, this week they're going to get smoked. But this is a good game, a good matchup, and it's good for the league. You promote the future and the young quarterbacks in this league. This is a great matchup for a Sunday night game. You
got Raheem Morris, who I think is, he's going to know what to do. He's not going to blow that lead that they got, that the Bears had last week on the Vikings, like you said, if J.J. McCarthy makes some mistakes. It would also just be kind of Patriots if Parker Romo hits a game-winning kick. We'll see how Andy Borregales does this week. But give me the Falcons at least to cover 3.5. At least to cover 3.5, if not to win the game. 2 Monday night games. You got to hit these quick. 1-0 Bucks at 0-1 Texans.
Bring the joy back to football a little bit for guys that weren't having as much fun.
Bucks 2.5-point favorites.
Give me the Bucks right now. Texans are in They got some kind of thing going on with them. I don't know what's up right now, but give me the Bucs to win this one.
Texans in trouble. Bucs indoors, healthy. That's Tampa all the way. They should crush that 2.5. And a 10 o'clock Monday night football game between the Chargers and Raiders.
Reminded of Sir Andrew Barton. Fight on, my men, Sir Andrew said. I'm a little wounded but not slain. I'll lay down and bleed a while, and we'll rise and fight again.
Both teams 1-0. That was Harbaugh, his Chargers, 3.5-point favorites.
I think the Chargers win and win big. I think they're legit. I think they're very legit, very balanced team. Give me the Chargers in this one, and I think the Chargers win big.
I'll take the Chargers as well. There you go. Week 2, no buys. We'll be back. Patriots-Dolphins. We'll get more into that matchup next here on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff is on the way on the Sports Hub.
We want to stay balanced as much as we can. That's always been the way we have operated offensively, and I know that's the way we intend every game to go. I've said it a million times. I've never called a perfect game, and would love to be right on the perfect line of balance every week. And so just, you look back at things, there's things you wish you would have done a little different here and there. And at the end of the day, I always want to try to do what's best for the team. And some weeks that's better done than others, so always try to learn from previous experiences, and certainly would try to do a good job of maintaining balance every week that we can, until obviously the game falls into a different category.
That's Josh McDaniels talking about the offense. They need to be more balanced this week against the Dolphins. I would agree with that. Jeff in Abington has a thought on the Patriots running the football. Jeff, good morning.
Yeah, geez, I've been waiting a long time.
Sorry about that.
Why don't you allow your callers to have a conversation?
We're having a conversation right now. What's going on?
Well, okay, usually you're able to say something, then you cut us off.
Yeah, I feel like I always let people talk. You got a take, or is your take
yes,
just
I do have a take.
What's your take?
I don't think you can have a running game when you're constantly out of the shotgun. Everybody says they want to establish the run, but you're not committed to the run as long as you're in that shotgun 99% of the time. So you're going to cut me off now, or are we going to have a conversation?
Yeah, okay. So the Drake May is generally more shotgun heavy. He was that in college. What you can't do is what the 2018 Patriots did, which is, and when I say you can't do it, they were much more talented. The average team can't do it. If you're only in shotgun to run the ball, and you're only in under center to run the ball, you're only in shotgun to throw the ball, you become too predictable. So you do have to run some out of the shotgun. You do have to throw some from under center. I do hate like the third and short, fourth and short shotgun run. I think you want to let the running back get ahead of steam there, but you do have to run the ball out of shotgun to some extent in the modern NFL.
Oh, you didn't cut me off yet? I'm still on?
What do you know
you're still
what?
here.
Yeah, go. I got a whole show to do. I don't know what you want me to tell you. Go ahead. What's your rebuttal? We'll do it.
You have a whole show to do. You've been talking among yourselves for the last hour. So why?
That's what the show is.
That's a show.
It's a talk show.
It's a talk show where we talk amongst ourselves.
And I apologize I left you on hold. I generally try to be quick about getting the callers on. If you call into the show regularly, you know that. I do apologize I left you on. We had a couple of segments in there where it didn't make sense to take the call.
But listen, the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson's a shotgun a lot. They can run the football. Josh Allen, the Bills, they can run the football even out of shotgun. You got to be balanced. If you run the center every time and they know you run under center, they're going to be waiting on the run. You just have to be balanced in your play calling and balance in your formations to keep people on their heels. It's the way it works. Yes, they have to run the football. And I think last week, Ramondre, I think we had 7 carries or something like that for 15 yards. I think you got to figure out a way to – I know everybody wants Travion Henderson out there a lot more this week. And I want to see him get more touches. I wouldn't say getting 30 carries, just get him more touches. But I do think you have to establish the run and be more balanced. And I think a part of that is getting a lead. I think you got to get a lead and hold it. And I think it allow you to be balanced. And I think one underrated factor in this game this week is I think the humidity is going to be at like 85% or something like that.
Yeah, Mike
it's going to be
just
muggy.
Out the weather. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little muggy there. So you might want to be able to run the football and hold on to it because you don't want to get behind here, and now you're in a tough situation to where you're the one, getting, beat down because of the weather and all the other stuff, all the other factors. So I think you got to be a little more balanced and get a good lead on this team and allow those short yardage situations for Stevenson to take advantage.
87 degrees, 83% humidity. Thank you, Ryan. They do have to be better at running the football, though, and they do have to be more balanced. I'm with you on that. And the other thing, they only ran to the right side once last week. You got to run, and we'll see where Morgan Moses at. And him being banged up maybe doesn't help with that, but you got to call more diverse runs. People have been calling for more Travion Henderson. I actually think the amount he was on the field and got the ball last week was more or less right.
Yep.
Played just under 40% of their offensive snaps. He led the team in touches. He had 11 touches. He touched the ball almost half the time he was on the field. The ball went to him. run or pass. I think it's the way in which they used him. They got to vary the runs more, get him more to the outside. Don't just throw him the ball in the flat and on screens. Put him out in the pattern. Line him up out wide in the formation, or have him run angle routes or Texas routes or whatever, corner routes out of the backfield, wheel routes, things like that. I don't think that they didn't give him the ball enough. I think they did give him the ball enough. It's the way in which they gave him the ball. I don't know what that was, but that just lit up the phones. So since apparently I leave people on too long, let's roll through this. Randy in Providence. Randy, good morning.
Good morning, Alex. How's it going?
How are we doing?
I'm all right. Let me just lead off by acting as your defense counsel. I call a lot of shows. I call your show regularly. I find you guys to be a lot more accommodating to callers than a lot of other shows.
Appreciate that. What do you got for us this morning?
So just two quick questions, and then I'll sign off and you reply. Number one, I felt like last week it looked like Drake May wasn't trusting his offensive line real well. It looked like starting off from the first play and then a lot of plays, he might have settled in towards the end of the game, but it looked like he was just bailing from what was essentially a clean pocket, and that he kind of needed to hang around in the pocket, work on his pocket presence a little bit more, and get the ball out from there. And I was wondering what you guys think about that. And also, if I could throw in at the end, and then I'll hang up and get you guys' reaction. But, I hate to say a week 2 game is like a must-win sort of game. But for me, if we can't beat this Miami team that's reeling today, then I think that we start having a very different conversation tomorrow that starts revolving around draft positions and kind of looking at the long-term future of building this team. I just think that Miami team's in a much worse position than even I expected them to be after looking at that futile effort coming out of there last week.
Yeah.
So I wonder what you think about those two takes.
Thanks, Randy. Second one, it's going to get dark if they lose today. The first one I think is a really good point by you. I don't know if it wasn't him trusting his offensive line, but it's a good observation, and he talked about it this week. He felt like he was rushing himself at times, and you see it when you watch him. He's not necessarily throwing off his front foot, but he's just not getting his feet set. You watch the first pass to Pop Douglas. It's almost like he wants to get the ball to him so quickly that he doesn't even bother to go through the full mechanic. He just kind of pushes the ball towards him, just kind of jump passes it towards him. And you saw that on a couple of his other sprays where guys are open, and it's like, dude, you can take the second and a half to go through the full mechanic, right? And it's just going to relate to a tighter throw. So whether that's him being nervous about the offensive line, whether that's him being worried about the window closing, I don't know what it is. He didn't give a clear answer. He just kind of said he was rushing. But I think that's what that is. He sees the open receiver, and it's got to get him the ball. Got to get him the ball. And it's just it's really less than a second to just get the feet set and go through the full mechanic.
Make a clean throw.
We're up against it, but I want to get to all these calls. We're going to hit a break here, come back. I wanted to get to the defense. Some of you guys have that on the phone. We'll run through all your calls next here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.
More Sunday Kickoff coming up on the Sports Hub.
don't treat the callers right. I want to make up. I went back and listened to that during the break. Just when you think you've seen it all. We talk too much on the radio, Cerrone.
I guess so.
I don't know.
What a talk show.
Should we just start playing music? Is that what the people want? Blink-182 coming up next. Should we just play highlights? We got the Brady special that Jim Louth worked hard on. Actually, I shouldn't make fun of the Brady special. The Brady special is awesome.
It's a good special.
But it is. Louth did a good job. We'll play that instead of just two people talking back and forth. What a concept on a radio show. All right.
On a sports talk radio station.
617-779-0985. Last chance talk Patriots-Dolphins with us before pregame gets underway at 10 o'clock. Tony in Canada has a couple of thoughts. Tony.
Hey. I was listening to your show. Yep. I wasn't really going to call in until I heard that last guy. I got a suggestion. If he doesn't like being on hold, he could just, there's a button on the phone he could push, and then it disconnects the line. So he can hang up. He doesn't have to be on hold so long. But now that I called in, I think it's kind of funny, and I know it's the media just trying to make a story, and create interest, but how they're talking about is Drake May a bust. Felger and Maz especially, they like to talk about that. I have every confidence in Drake May. He hasn't played a full season yet. Let's keep that in mind. We know that he didn't start last year. He's got all the talent. You can't teach physical ability, like the kind of physical abilities he has. I've seen what Josh has done with lesser, let's call them lesser quarterbacks for, not using the right verbiage, but let's say less physically gifted quarterbacks.
Yeah. You can say Mac Jones.
So I'm confident. Fine. Yeah, there you go. And I have every confidence that he can help Drake May to get his mechanics right. Plus, Vrabel, we know how much pressure he puts on, protecting the ball and everything else. If not, I think around maybe the tail end of this year, I think we're going to see a drastically different Drake May. I don't know what the Patriots season is going to be like, but. Yeah, I love listening to your guys' show, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks
really
for the call.
Enjoy it. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Tony. Something he hit on there late that I will stress again. We talked about it more last week.
I was about to say same thing. Go ahead.
A lot of these quarterbacks, it's if you're not Jaden Daniels and you're not the guy that bursts on the scene right away, right? Whether it's Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, there's a couple other guys if you go and look, and some of them were like fine. But when they made the jump to being that upper echelon quarterback, it usually comes midway through year two. You usually don't go from an okay year one right into an elite year two. It's usually an okay year one into, all right, you're a little bit better at the start of year one. There's still some real bumps in the road. And then it's anywhere from like weeks 5 to 9 is usually where you start to see that ascension. So that's where I'm at with Drake May. I said it last week. I didn't want him to play his best game of the week in week 1. That would be a bad thing. You want him to get better as the year goes on. He is going to need to be better than that, especially that second half. He fell apart in that second half. But I'm not writing him off yet. I think if they go through that stretch, it's the Saints, Titans, Browns. I think that's the wrong order, but they play those 3 teams in a row. If he still looks like this in all 3 of those games, that's when we start having a more serious conversation.
Yeah. I think he's in a very similar. I know the games don't line up perfectly like last year. But I think I put him and Michael Penix in the same category. They almost virtually had the same game week 1. And 27 of 42, I think it was for Penix, 290 or whatever. And Drake May had 287 and completed 30 passes. And Penix last year sat behind Cousins for most of the season. And then he got in late and was kind of up and down from time to time. I think they're both in a similar situation when it comes to, playing NFL games or whatever. I know Penix is an older guy and played a lot more college football. But I think on the NFL level, I think I'd put those guys in the same category. And J.J. McCarthy as well, a guy he didn't play last year at all. So he's going to have not games where it's going to look different. You're going to have quarter by quarter where it's going to be different. You might have drives. One drive might not look like the last drive. And that's a story of a young quarterback in the league. Like you said, Jaden Daniels had those good moments last year, but people are wondering if he's coming back down to earth. Will Bo Nix be able to repeat what he did last year? So young quarterbacks, you still got to be patient. You still got to have time. But I think Drake May is going to be in a good situation as time goes on. And you mentioned it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You can't judge these young quarterbacks in September. You wait until you're getting later into the fall, and then you'll be able to see who's who and what's what and see what kind of improvement and how things have changed around them. And I think that still holds true.
And to your point about Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix, year 2, they have more tape on you. And teams have spent the whole offseason studying you, and that's a factor as well. Doug and Southie on what I think is very important for the Patriots. Doug, you there? Doug going once, Doug going twice.
Hey, you got me.
There he is. Look at that. What do you got, Doug?
What's going on, guys?
Hey.
Great show. Hey, it is very, very important today for the Pats to get off to the right start. For example, you can't go 3-0 in this first drive. You need to be, mentally in this game. If this team goes 3-0, Miami goes down and scores. Next thing you know, you're down 7-0 after week 1. I just think it is so important that they get off to the right start today and that their opening drive looks put together. I'll hang up and I'll listen.
Thanks for the call, Doug. Exactly right. And Drake May talked about it this week. Got to get off to a hot start. Got to get off to a fast start. And that doesn't mean going like up tempo and it's a proverbial fast. Mm-hmm. You don't have much of a ramp up in this game because if you get up on these guys 7-0, 10-0,
they're going to fold.
They will tap out.
Yep.
Do not give them any reason to get their legs under them. I think that is a massively, massively important storyline in this game. What do the Patriots do? And Josh McDaniels is good at scripted drives. Now the defense has to do its part. But what do the Patriots do the first drive each way? I think that is going to be massive.
I think that second part, what you said, is the part that to me has gone under the radar too much this week. The defense, you cannot give up 400 yards to this team. You can't let what Geno did last week. You can't get a repeat passing performance from an opposing quarterback. You shouldn't have many games this season where you give up 350 yards in the air, and let alone to two in this situation.
And especially right away. Especially right away. You look at what the Raiders, that first drive, knife through butter.
Yep.
That first drive for the defense last week, you can't have that. Let's go to Jim in Connecticut on Drake May. Jim.
Hey, guys. Good morning. I got two things. Number one is I think today's Miami matchup couldn't come at a worse time for the Patriots in a must-win situation. I'm not really optimistic about today. I think Miami's front line defense there is much better than the Raiders. I think it's going to give them a lot of trouble. And just the whole Miami situation, Patriots don't play well down in Florida in the September timeframe. So I'm very pessimistic about today, and I think it's just a bad timing for them to have to play the Dolphins. And then the second thing is, this is more of a provocative question, and it kind of lines up with what you guys have been talking about.
Yep.
What if Drake May flatlines Alex and Cerrone, and it's like you're 2/3 of the way through this season, and you're trending towards the end of November into December, and he's basically what he is? What do you do next year, Alex, in the draft?
Thanks for the call, Jim. It's a fair question. I would say there's too many variables right now to fully answer that. The quarterback play in college football this year, everything we thought was going to happen is not happening. And
Arch Manning got booed yesterday when he went 0 for 10 throwing the football against UTEP.
Right. I go back to where the Patriots were not in 24 when they took Drake, but the year before that, where you maybe could have made a case to draft a quarterback, but that was the Will Levis year. Yep. And it was like, okay, well, usually you give the guy 3 years. Maybe if there's somebody you really like at the top of the draft, you wouldn't draft a quarterback simply to replace Drake May at that point. To move on after 2 years, there has to be a quarterback you really love that you believe you can't miss on, and then you have to be in position to take him, right? So the way this quarterback class is trending, I think he gets another year. Also, where does he flatline? Does he flatline in what he was in the first half of last week? Because then I think you're good. I think you're good. If he's giving you that consistently, it's maybe not quite what we thought he'd be, but that's a guy that's going to keep you in most games. If he flatlines where he was in the second half last week, then it's a different conversation. So I'm not trying to dodge it and defend Drake May. We need so much more context that we don't have. There's a million scenarios that could.
Yeah, and even last week, he had stretches where he played bad last week, and a bad Drake May. He completed 30 passes in the rain and completed 65% of his throws. I mean, he almost 300 yards through the air in the rain in those situations with two rookies to his left and a banged up right tackle on his right and no running game. So does he flatline or does the team flatline?
Right. What does it look like around him?
Yeah, right. What's going on around him? Is the defense going to give up 400 yards in the air to where you're playing from behind? You're chasing Geno Smith. There's a lot of things that go into, these quarterbacks. But I think not just Drake, man. I think a lot of these quarterbacks, a lot of guys from his class, I think you got to give all of them time. You have to be patient with these guys because constantly bringing in new guys and doing it over and over and over again, and that means changing coaching staff, changing coordinators. You're just in a cycle that just allows Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Pat Mahomes to dominate the conference over and over again. You got to be patient and let these guys develop and become the stars that we think they can be.
One more call here, Joe in Marshfield. Joe.
Hey guys, you hit the nail right on the head with that last point about you got to let Drake May develop. But I think Landry's going to have a field day, man. I think this Dolphins team is packed it in. They don't want to play for McDaniel. And this whole team is in disarray. I don't believe in this curse anymore about we can't go down to Florida and win. If our defense plays good today, and Drake if he throws for the numbers he threw for last week in the bad weather, I think we got a chance. I don't think this Dolphins team wants to play for this coach. Do you guys agree with me?
Yeah. I'm with you,
Absolutely.
Joe. I'm absolutely with you. Thanks for the call.
And his star receiver just got a ton of allegations this week, so I don't know where his focus and confidence is right now.
So this segment was supposed to be about the defense. I did want to take some calls. I appreciate everybody who called in. I really did just lit up the phones. That was great. I'll take calls. I say this all the time. We have a couple segments that are structured a certain way. For the most part, I'll take calls the whole show. Talk about what you guys want to talk about. But he's right about the defense and specifically the line. The Dolphins are on a backup right tackle, a backup right guard. Their center was the third worst pass blocking center in the league last week in Aaron Brewer, who's usually a good player but got off to a rough start. They've got a rookie left guard who was a tackle in college in Jonas Savanaia. This is a team that can get got and can specifically get got up the middle. Mike Vrabel talked this week about the importance of batting down passes at the line against Tua, something that he's been susceptible in his career to. I think the caller mentioned Landry should have a big game. I think Landry, Barmore, and Milton Williams are all in great shape. Now, the only question is, where do the Dolphins focus their attention? So last week, you might notice I threw Barmore in there with Landry and Williams. Landry and Williams had a ton of production, looked good in the box score. Barmore didn't. The Raiders were taking Christian Barmore away. They were doubling him. They were sending help there, all of that. And that's what freed those other two up to win their one-on-ones. And that's what you want. We've talked about the linchpin pass rusher. Do the Dolphins send help to the inside where they're injured and take away Barmore and Milton Williams, which leaves Landry one-on-one, which we saw last week what he can do when he's one-on-one, and this is a lesser tackle in Miami, or do they try to spread it out more and mix it up, and now it's kind of play-to-play, who's getting the one-on-one and who's winning? But there should absolutely be opportunities for the Patriots defensive line to take over this game. If they are going to take over the game on either side of the ball, it starts with their defensive line and their pass rush to me.
Just real quick, do you think with the conditions, with the heat and the humidity, you think they rotate a lot of guys in? You think you can see the Keon Whites and Chase and those guys rotating in a lot with this team with these conditions?
Well, Chase will be the fourth guy, but he had a rough game last game. I'd like to see him do more. Anthony Jennings, it sounds like, is going to be active with Keon White out, so I'd like to see some Anthony Jennings. That's kind of it. They don't have a ton of rotate after that unless they're going to mix Elijah Ponder in a little bit. So I think they'd like to. I don't know how deep they are at that spot, and I think that's all the more reason. Short drives, get off the field.
Get off the field, yeah.
Don't let Miami extend these drives and wear these guys out. But I think it's a good point. All right, we'll take a break here. Come back, score predictions, then we hand it over to Patriots pregame next year on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Stay tuned for more Sunday Kickoff on the Sports Hub.
Right. Patriots-Dolphins, 1 o'clock kickoff from Miami. Wrapping up here on the Sports Hub Sunday kickoff. Alex Barth, Cerrone Battle. Ryan Garvin, great job today. No sophomore slump from him in week 2. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock. Chris Gasper, Jim Murray standing by. Bob and Zoe have the call at 1, and then I'll be back. Long day for me today. I'll be back. I'm happy to do it with Joe Murray on Patriots postgame coming up tonight. After the game, we'll have your reactions to whatever the final score is. So, Cerrone, I ask you, what will the final score be? Do the Patriots get to 500, or do we start doing doom and gloom on September 15th?
I think they get to 500. In fact, I'm going to have kind of a hot take here. I think they have one of the highest scoring regular season games in a while.
Do they break 30?
Say again?
Do they break 30?
Yes, I think they get close to breaking 30, if not break it. Simply because I think they get a lot of chances at it. I think they get a lot of opportunities. I expect some 3-and-outs from Miami, turnover here or there. The touchdowns, I think you might get defensive touchdown. The way they're throwing the ball in Miami doesn't look right. And I think the biggest underrated thing that we didn't touch on today, the Dolphins secondary was bad coming into the season, and Daniel Jones looked like a franchise quarterback.
You know who their number one corner is?
I have no clue.
Jack Jones.
Today,
right. With injuries. It's Jack
today,
Jones.
yeah. They were bad before last week. And I think the Patriots receivers kind of have a day against these guys. The ball's out quick. I expect some missed tackles in situations like that where they get in the open field. I expect the Patriots to get probably 3 offensive touchdowns and the defensive touchdowns. So I see them winning this one and winning big. I'm going to go 31-20.
31-20.
Yeah,
okay.
High scoring game. Hot take of the week.
I have some things in common with you in my pick. I do think the Patriots win. I think they score more than they've scored. I don't know them going 31. I forget what I said on Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff, or on, this is Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff. I forgot what I said on the Patriots Hub podcast with Matt Dolph. I think I was somewhere in a range of like 28-21 Patriots, but that comes with a caveat, and you said this as well. I think we see either a defensive touchdown this week or something where there's a turnover and the Patriots offense gets the ball at the 5-yard line and punches it in. Yeah. One short drive, if not defensive or special teams turnover for the Patriots. So there's the predictions. We both have them winning. We both had them winning last week, so we'll see. Got to get this one because Steelers is tough. Panthers is sneaky tough, and then the Bills. And it can start slipping really quickly if they don't win today. Gasper and Murray will have more on that. Patriots pregame coming up. If you missed the show, you can find more on the Sports Hub YouTube channel or the Patriots Hub podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I'll be back. I'll talk to you guys postgame. Also have more coverage on 98.5thesportshub.com. Enjoy the game, everybody, and we will talk to you next week. Patriots pregame coming up next.
From the Telfair Type Studios, WBZ-FM and HD1. It's not just the games. It's Toucher and Hardy, Zolak and Bertrand, Felger and Maz, Joe Murray. For Boston sports fans, it's 98.5, the Sports Hub. Paisley Media Group Station. This is Patriots Preview, driven by the stylish Honda Accord. Contact your local New England Honda dealers to learn more or shop online at